Hello, and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek thing. My name is Jake.
This is Chris.
This is Ames.
And this is Caitlin.
And this is Justice.
Hey, our special guest is back.
Hey,
Whoa, look at this guy.
Justice, who guest starred previously when we covered Justice.
This will be less confusing.
Yes, because we are not covering Justice this week.
We're covering Jake.
We're covering him in kisses.
Oh my.
But no, we are covering, on this episode, number 106.
Woo!
We are covering 2 episodes of Season 5 of the Doctor's Generation.
Yep.
And those episodes are Darmok and Ensign Ro.
Mio and Juliet.
Hey. Ho, 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 ho.
Yeah.
I don't know,
So,
whatever.
in the first episode, Darmok, the Enterprise, is on a mission to make contact with the Tamarians, a race of bald Talaxians,
Which ones are the Talaxians?
Neelix.
Oh, okay,
The
sure.
makeup was very similar.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the weird nose, though.
No, but the head, like, thing
Yeah,
was...
Who had
Cybers.
weird noses? Tellarites have weird noses?
They don't have weird
All
noses.
sorts of species got weird noses.
Also, species look alike. Don't most species look like humans?
That's true. All they know about these bozos is that, you know, they've made some contact, you know, over time, but all the people that have had contact with them have described the Tamarians as being incomprehensible. So they're going to go find out what's going on. So they go out, they meet up with this Tamarian ship, and they hail each other, and they show up on the screen, and the Tamarians are there, and they're incomprehensible. They seem to be saying a lot of proper nouns and a lot of, they're not communicating. They're not using
They're great
their
at prepositions and articles.
Yes, they know how to say some things, but not how to communicate. So it's going kind of okay, I guess, though they haven't shot at each other. But then, suddenly, out of nowhere, the Tamarians beam their captain and Captain Picard down to the planet Eladrel for unknown reasons, because they weren't able to say what's going on. So,
Blind date.
Blind date. So Picard and the captain of the Tamarian ship are hanging out down on the planet. At first, Picard's like, what, do you want to fight me? You want to fight me, bro? And then Dathan's like, Shaka, when the walls fell, and things like that. He talks like a moron. Meanwhile, the Tamarian ship has put like a field around the planet to prevent beaming, like at Rodopente. The Enterprise is trying to break through the field. They don't want to start an incident, but they definitely want to get the captain back. Especially because down on the planet, there's a fucking alien monster attacking them.
Whoops.
So eventually Picard comes to realize that, I'm not here. This isn't a fight me bro situation. This is a
I'm gonna find a monster to attack us,
yeah,
bro.
this is a, he wanted me to help him fight this monster for no reason. To reenact some event from their mythology for some reason. So, okay, still assholes, Tamarians. Anyway, so they try to fight this monster. Eventually, Picard realizes that what they're saying, the way he's talking, is just references to their mythology. They don't speak, like, that's how they communicate, that's how they think.
Romeo, balls deep in Juliet.
Exactly.
Yikes.
So they figure, meanwhile, they've also figured this out on the ship. Troy and Data do some research, and they find out what's up. But they still
don't do much with that information.
No, because Data makes a good point about how, we know how they think, and we know what the words are, but we don't know the stories, so we can't make sense of it. So that's not great. But eventually, they come up with a plan to try to beam Picard back. They try it. It fails, but while he's stuck in the transporter beam, the Tamarian captain gets his ass handed to him by the monster. And then Picard and him hang out, and Picard tells him the story of Gilgamesh. And then the captain dies. And then the next day, the alien monster comes back, and they're able to beam Picard out just before the monster kicks Picard's ass. But to do that, the Enterprise had to fire on the Tamarian ship, and they're not too happy about that. So they're about to kick ass, because they're pretty powerful. But right then, Picard goes onto the bridge, and by now he's mastered the Tamarian language, or at least like the 4 phrases he knows from
happy,
it.
sad, angry, and dead.
Konnichiwa. Avidazen.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
So that happens, and he explains basically to the Tamarian that here's what went down. We made friends, and then the Tamarian's like, "All right, you're cool. You're cool with us. So bye."
Have a free dagger.
Yeah, Picard gets to keep the dagger that he took from the corpse. So that's nice. Next. Silicon Aviator.
That's not right.
No, that's in row.
That's the one you handed me.
They're in the wrong order.
You handed me the wrong card.
I did. That's next week.
That's last week, next week.
That's next week.
That's last next week.
Last week tonight.
Yes, the real next episode is Ensign Ro, in which a Federation outpost, a colony, has been destroyed by a group of terrorists from the Bajoran, which are a race of people that are sort of on the down and out. They were and are persecuted by the Cardassians, who we met previously in The Wounded. Evidently, these terrorists, who normally only go after Cardassians, decided this time they were going to go after Federation. So the Federation admiral is like, "Hey, Picard, go find these guys, find out what's up, tell them we'll give them amnesty or whatever. We just want them to stop blowing shit up." Blankets, amnesty.
Same thing.
Women, do what you gotta do. And, oh, by the way, here is this delinquent officer who happens to be Bajoran, who you're gonna now have to take on this mission.
And hot.
And it turns out she's a massive bitch.
Seconded.
Um,
oh, that's true too, yeah.
So,
got some people killed.
So we meet Ensign Ro Laren, who is properly Ensign Ro because they put their last names first, like Korean.
And Japanese
As well. So they do last name first, so that's why she is Ensign Ro and not Ensign Laren, as she explains in the most condescending way possible.
Those motherfuckers should have known. But we'll get to that.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll get to that.
known?
Look, I have complaints. We'll get to them when we get to the episode.
Okay.
Wow.
So next week.
So anywho, they bring her on for this mission. Basically, she's been in jail because she disobeyed orders and people died, so she's gone to jail. But they sprung her loose so that she can go on this mission.
Everybody in the fucking Enterprise gets away with their mistakes, killing lots of people.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that about?
Well, she's a woman.
Yeah.
So, Ensign Ro, anyway, so she's like, "Listen, you bozos don't know shit.
Bojos.
You think you're gonna go, we have to go talk to this so-and-so dude. He's the guy we gotta talk to." So they go talk to this dude who lives in, like, a shitty, like, camp, basically, like a refugee camp. And that guy's like, "Listen, Picard, we need blankets. We're not gonna help you with your terrorist situation because we need fucking blankets." So Picard's like, "All right, fine, we'll give you some goddamn blankets. We can make them in, like, half a second, you idiots."
But I given him a replicator. That must have been nice.
Why don't you have a replicator down here yet?
Yeah.
No, wait. Is that next week?
Like,
son of a bitch.
I don't know. Weaving has been around. If the Bajorans were so fucking great, they don't have a fucking loom? Jesus.
You're telling me anyone in the 24th century, except like 3 Luddite hipsters, knows how to weave?
Yeah.
You also have to get the resource. You have to get the raw material. I don't think they've got that.
I did not see sheep.
You know what's great about the post-scarcity society? Getting a fucking master's degree in basket weaving would be totally legit because you would be, like, holding on to, like, past cultural shit.
I'm sure everybody that's not in Starfleet is doing shit like
basket weaving?
Basket weaving. All the
Seriously,
shit.
I'm living in the wrong century. I either want to be, like, 200 years ago when I didn't have to have a job and I could just sit at home and be rich and fat.
Die of disease at age 30.
Perfect.
I mean, that could have been 100 years ago.
Perfect, even better. Or the 24th century when it was post-scarcity and I could just do fucking basket
I will
weaving.
definitely take the 24th century.
Well, I mean, I can't have either, so I might as well keep my options open.
Anywho,
Cryo freeze you.
So that guy's like, "Listen, here's the guy here's the real guy. Here's the leader of the terrorists. You gotta go meet with him."
What's his name? Ortha?
Orta. So go meet Orta. Orta the Orca.
Orthopedic.
He'll hook you up. He'll talk to you. So they meet with Orta, and it turns out Ro, she did a sneaky. She beamed down and started talking to Orta before everybody else. And then she goes,
dirty bitch.
And then Picard's like, You bitch. I didn't tell you could beam down. Go to your room.
You bitch.
Then Guinan...
I was going to say, but you forgot to mention that she made a special friend in 10
Oh,
forward
yeah.
before being a bitch.
Oh, yeah. Geordie was down in 10 forward being a total cockmunch. Shit-talking Ro Laren. Mostly because he's an incel and hates all women.
God.
He's already got a hollow program of her.
So
no. But it's probably some really horrible violence type of situation. Like, I don't feel like it would be sex.
Anyway.
So Geordie's shit-talking Ro Laren, and Guinan's like, you know what, you fucking loser? I'm going to go talk to this lady because she sounds pretty cool. So
That's exactly what she said, too.
Yeah.
That's actually verbatim. You have a great memory.
Yeah.
But only for Guinan's lines.
Yeah. So she goes over to Ro Laren and it's like, I'm Guinan. I listen and judge. I tend bar, I judge, and I listen.
And I know you're fucking a huge poser. I don't want to be with you. I want to be alone.
Emo time.
Brr.
So Guinan's like, listen, whatever, bitch, you're my friend.
We're besties now.
And Ro Laren's like, all right, fine, whatever, hoe bag. Wow.
I
don't know.
You remember Ro Laren's lines really well, too.
They were so catty.
Wow.
So Picard grounds her, and then Guinan shows up at her door and is like, hey, I heard Picard grounded you. And she's like, yeah, but you know...
braid each other's hair.
But you know what? Like, whatever. I don't want to talk, but here, let me tell you the whole thing. So then Guinan brings her to Picard, and Picard's like, I sent you to your room, young lady. And Guinan's like, first of all, I'm wicked old lady. And second of all, she's my friend. And Picard's like, oh.
Like...
I'll make it so.
You're disgusting. I love it.
So Guinan leaves, and then Picard's to like Ro. He's like, all right, I trust Guinan. She says you're cool. Let's lay it on me. And Ro's like, yeah, so here's the real thing. So that admiral that sent you on this mission, well, it turns out he's kind of a shit. And he actually gave me secret orders to lure the terrorists out into space. And Picard's like, the game's afoot. So so Picard comes up with a plan to get the admiral, and just on schedule, as they're evacuating the rebel base, the Cardassians show up. What? How did they know?
They know all.
And then they're like, listen, Picard, you got to leave because we're going to destroy the ship. Picard's like, I'm not destroying the ship. I'm not letting you destroy the ship. I'm not going to leave. And they're like, fine, call your boss. So Picard calls the admiral, and the admiral's like, well, you better leave. So Picard leaves, and they blow up the ship. And then he calls the admiral back, and the admiral's like, so, how'd it go? I guess the ship got destroyed. And Picard's like, yeah, it got destroyed. And he's like, great. And then Picard's like, yeah, but nobody died because it was all a trick. They're fine. And the admiral's like, what? And Picard's
like, go to your room, young lady.
Picard's like, you got because you were tricked by the Cardassians. This was all a Cardassian plan. You're going to jail, boy. Getting out of here.
And he basically does, like, you're going to jail, boy. He's like, you were apparently naive enough to fall for this transparent bullshit.
Yep. So Picard says, fuck off, Admiral. And then he goes to Ro Laren and he's like, hey, Ro, you did all right there. Even though you were kind of bitchy the whole time. You're okay in my book.
Guinan likes you.
Guinan likes you.
It probably turns him on a little.
You're a better Yar than Yar, so why don't you stick around?
That's a shame.
And she's like, you know what, Captain? I'll stick around as long as I can wear this fucking gaudy costume jewelry. And
my Halloween costume year round.
And he's like, sure, whatevs.
She really likes the 13th Doctor.
He was super tickled pink by it too. She was like, one thing, and he's like, yes.
You irascible ragamuffin.
Seriously.
Irascible.
So that's all that goes down in these two shows. So Darmok.
So we'll see you next week then.
Mm-hmm.
So Darmok, right?
Darmok.
Right? How the fuck does anything work in that society?
Right?
Hey, could you hand me that? How do you say that?
You say
Larry, when he was being a good dude.
Like, clearly, this is a culture.
wife, the sandwich maid.
But, like,
God.
this is clearly a culture that cannot possibly have philosophy.
I mean, It does have a philosophy, it's just a very static philosophy.
Right? I mean, you can't have an in-depth discussion with these people.
No.
How do you make a treaty with these lunatics?
What do you mean, these people?
I can't remember the species name.
Children of
The
Tamarians or
Tamarians.
something.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think that this might not have always been the case for them.
Oh,
and that
clearly.
This is a vocabulary that they've built up over time.
I know, because, the stories had to have happened before, and then you would know the historical
Guys,
stories.
This is perfect, guys. It's like the perfect Mean Girl plot. You can be telling all these inside jokes to your buddies, and then these assholes who don't get it are like, what the fuck is so
Also, to be
good?
fair, we're very, very much on the path to this, because I don't know how often in Facebook conversations I reply with GIFs to represent things that I'm feeling.
I mean,
That's
it's
a good
basically,
point.
it's a culture based on memes, really, right?
Yeah.
It's like, Drake, his arm raised. Drake, his finger pointed.
But there's the other thing is that, like, clearly they understand when people are talking, because Picard tells them the story of Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
So these stories have to be passed along somehow, because if you say that the first time you say, like, oh, Shaka, when the walls fell, I'm sad.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I failed.
everything's gone wrong. And someone's like the baby there is like, I don't know what the fuck that means.
Well, babies don't know what things you mean
that's no
anyway.
different than teaching a baby any other
Yeah, I was gonna say,
language,
you're just
I
learning
guess.
through context, which is what language
Yeah.
learning
Oh,
is when
Shaka,
it's done
when the
natural.
walls fell.
Ooh.
How does a baby communicate that it shit itself in this language?
Jake, most of the time.
When the walls fell in my pants.
Yeah. But yeah,
Sorry, Jake.
yeah, everyday life must be roughly impossible.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't make it makes for a fascinating plot, but the minute you stop and think about how that society functions, it's like, no.
How do they buy groceries? How do they order shit at a restaurant?
How do you complain to the manager that the soup was a little too cold?
How do you develop spaceflight?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you
that's
get
a
to
good
that
one.
point?
Yeah.
See, all
Also,
the other
I want to
stuff,
point out that no matter, even though we're complaining about all this is my favorite episode of
this
Star
is
Trek.
among my
It's so
favorite.
good.
This is my 100% favorite episode.
Really?
I love this. I love the concept.
We're getting to mine this season.
Yeah,
It
but
makes me cry so much.
it's like
I was crying so much.
It means like because we learn along with Picard how to communicate with these
Exactly,
people, and develop a relationship with the teacher. I don't remember the name of the captain.
Captain Terrell.
Yeah.
He just cannot get a break.
At least he didn't
he
have
was
worms in
good.
his ear this time.
True. No, he was good, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, why do I know that voice? And I look him up and I'm like,
Yeah, that's
oh,
what
fuck
You
me.
told me
Paul
that, and I
Winfield.
still didn't remember that it was him when I
Yeah,
rewatched it.
I think you have memory problems,
Man,
Caitlin.
so
Who
good.
are you?
I don't know. Justice? That sounds right.
You are the episode Justice.
Oh, God.
That's unfortunate.
With those nearly nude costumes and those random instruments.
Speaking of random instruments, what was up with the little pieces of flair that Dathan left all over the
I
campsite?
didn't get what those were either. I wonder if there was like something in the script that made it make sense.
I mean, I was just under the impression that there was clearly
Ritual shit.
a ritualistic aspect, whether it was religion or sort of superstition or whatever. Like, it wasn't just his TGI Fridays flair. It was important.
I kind of wish they'd gone into that, because I also read that among TNG episodes, this is the script that had the longest gestation of any script before it was finally made. Because they thought they couldn't make it work. It ended up getting a lot of iterations and a lot of, time on the shelf waiting to make sense.
Well, I can see that. It requires a lot of complicated
It
thinking.
paid off, like, whoa, there are other episodes that are really complicated that make no fucking sense and you hate them.
Yeah.
But this one, got out, so many elements very right.
Yeah.
One thing I'm still kind of confused about, though, right, is they still abducted Captain Picard and forced him to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dathan goes down, finds a monster, lures it back to camp, and is like, we're going to reenact a thing, and it's going to be fun, and we're going to become friends afterwards.
Which totally explains that opening scene with them where they're like yelling at him like, this is a bad idea, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But you're gonna get killed. Darmok! Alright?
There's totally ways they communicate. They all know, this will get you killed, this is a bad idea, and you will fail.
I mean, a lot of it must be tonal as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Inflection. Like a lot of syllabic language. all languages.
When you look at because I know we talked in Loud as a Whisper about ASL and non-verbal or languages that wouldn't be able to go through the translator, the universal translators. Like, how the fuck do people communicate in Starfleet with those kinds of folk if the universal translators don't work?
Well, it turns out not very fucking well.
But that's the thing, though, right? So my understanding of the universal translator is that it kind of works. It's like a machine learning thing where it kind of figures out based on context what the person might mean, because it's not like pre-programmed.
Does it go through your brainwaves, or am I thinking of something else?
That's the Babel
fish.
fish.
Okay.
There's an episode in Deep Space Nine where they first encounter a language that they haven't that's never encountered before,
and it's the universal translator figuring it out.
The universal translator. It takes like 5 minutes. Like maybe it's only like 30 seconds of screen time where at first they're talking, you don't understand them, and then it slowly starts working to the point where you do, and it's really interesting to watch.
I think the universal translator would have the same problem with this language that they have, which is it doesn't know the stories.
It doesn't know the proper nouns.
So it's like it can make all the words. Like, look, I know this is ocean. I know these appear to be, but
that's not really. I mean, because you could take the phrases which are references to stories, Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, and just tokenize that, right?
Let's be friends.
But that's what I mean, though. It's not clever enough to make that leap.
But how is that any different? Like, the fact that there are spaces between the words, that could be one word. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. Like, that could be a word.
No, but I'm sorry. I mean to make the leap that, like, they're talking in metaphor.
But I feel like a lot of languages are sort of
we talk in
aren't
metaphor
they?
a lot of times.
Well, yeah, we use that's the issue.
Think of French. This is a bad example, but the word, like the way they say orgasm is French is the little death.
Yeah.
How would you get from French, the little death, to orgasm in English to the universal translator?
You have to show them.
Through Picard.
Well, it's a dead language.
That's
so
how
probably,
I get
probably
my
doesn't even know how to do it. But the point is, like, if you had a lot of, or like German, where every fucking word is literally like 25 words smushed together.
Yes, but it's basically just the definition of the word, so it's fine.
All right,
Yeah,
so that's a bad
that's
example, but
pretty
the
specific.
French one is a better example then. Like, in my...
Well, even like, I mean, we're getting back to the point that
course, we
the
have the
universal
dictionary,
translator is magic.
Yeah.
Period. Because
True.
like,
Most
a
things
good
are.
example is a language, a lot of East Asian languages, like Chinese, right? Like that a lot of, like, you can't just do a one-to-one mapping of a lot of those languages to English.
Right.
So that's where the whole art of interpretation comes in, because you're listening to somebody speak and then translating it into a sentence that makes sense in English.
And even translating from one Western language to another, there's still, you get multiple translations because people are going to still make different
Flourishes.
localization choices.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also,
I call
like,
it a grinder.
syntax and
You guys
stuff.
call it a sand, like a
Sub.
Sub or a hoagie or a gyro for some people, despite the fact that those are a specific thing.
Euro are
Yeah.
specific.
Euro are specific, but some people
And
call
even the Kinetiquois know a euro's a euro, not a grinder.
But yes, no, I've seen that where, like, people call all subs that.
Oh, they won't even call it a gyro, they'll call it a gyro, like it's a copter.
Cool.
Now, what if the universal translator started providing, like, options? It's like somebody, like, finished their sentence and then you just heard, or this is what I also could have meant.
Did
That
you
would
mean like how Google does?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I mean, yeah, I feel like, considering all of the crazy shit that the universal translator has been demonstrated to be able to do, that to arbitrarily not be able to interpret this language seems a little convenient for the plot.
Well, they also just haven't spent a lot of time with these people, it seems like. It sounds like usually they meet and they say blah, 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 and the people on the ship go, well, these fucking morons don't even know how to talk. See ya.
It's like, they just keep shouting the same 4 phrases at them.
Yeah, and it's not like the universal translator it's done learning all languages.
Yeah.
Presumably, now that they have context for how these people speak, they can start putting their shit into translation, and then... But, like, I wonder... I want to know if the universal translator is going to learn for the Tamarians... It's Tamarians?
Yeah.
Is it going to have to learn, like, all the stories so that it can then spit back stuff at them and be like, Darmok, and then there's that other thing, and, what's that other...
Darmok on the ocean. Oh, that's a different one.
Yeah.
I love to picture its thought process, like, where it's just like, oh god, he fucking just offered them Earl Grey tea. How do I... Jesus God, I quit!
Well, that's also
You just see an nice linear chip pop out of a thing and walk away.
I mean, if it's anything like, sorry if I'm cutting Jake off, if it's anything like Data's brain, they can just put all the stories in Data and have Data just tell you what everyone means all the time. And that's basically the equivalent of the Universal Translator a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't see why it wouldn't be able to work that
or
way.
you just hire a guy to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a
Data.
good question, too, is why did Data not just download all the shit about the stories? Then he definitely
Because he
could've
doesn't know all the stories.
Yeah.
But he could have... But the computer knew who Darmok was, and it knew what Tanagra was, so...
I guess, of course, that was part of the problem. It knew how many Darmoks? Like 54?
47.
Yeah, but it figured out that Darmok was a hunter and Tanagra was an island.
Well, yeah, but it was the humans.
And
Well,
Chantel
and
3.
it was Data and Troy who they were like, let's throw Troy a bone and have her do something.
She did something. She did good.
No, she did, but you can tell it was just like... You feel like maybe the original scene wasn't necessarily
Flip a
her.
coin between Bev and Troy.
Between, like, Troy and fucking... Yeah.
Leffler.
Yeah. But, like, you know, it took that extra, that leap, again, to be able to go like, wait a minute. Hold on, these two must go together, and aha! They're talking in metaphor. What do we do with that?
Best Troy moment in the episode, though, is when they arrive to the ship, and Picard's like, Counselor, and she's like, I don't sense anything,
Any
bad.
hostility.
Yeah.
Nothing's bad. It's great. That's it. And she just shrinks back.
Yep.
I have done my part. Step back.
I'm an empath.
I was also surprised when they're talking about Darmok, and Darmok is also a frozen dessert on some other culture.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like, ooh, that should get Troy's interest. She loves frozen desserts.
I hope it's like a Dole Whip.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about, I was looking into this episode, and if you dig for a while, you can find that this was inspiration for a Doctor Who episode called Midnight, because the writer, Russell T. Davies...
Oh, is that the creepy one where the thing starts talking like
Yep.
him? And
Yeah.
God,
So
that
the-
episode's creepy.
The idea was this, the
Ooh.
writer saw the synopsis of Darmok, specifically said, that's an amazing idea. I am never going to watch this episode so that the idea in my head never gets, like, distorted by what actually happens in the episode, because I think the idea is so good that I don't even want to know what happens. And after, couple years of it kicking around, he wrote the episode Midnight, which is also about trying to communicate with someone with whom you cannot communicate. And I watched it, even though I watched very, very little Doctor Who, because it's way too British for me. But I actually enjoyed that episode, so...
No, that is one of his best episodes.
Man, I miss Russell T. Davies so
Oh,
much.
god damn it, no. He sucks.
I love Russell T. Davies.
I love the Russell era.
Why does he suck?
He's
He
so
doesn't
over the top
suck.
and
It's so over the top.
cheesy.
You haven't even
Oh.
watched any Doctor Who, have you?
Jake watches a lot of Doctor
Oh,
Who.
do you? Okay, good. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, are you just faking it right now?
No.
Better than fucking Moffat.
No.
Fucking magic wand bullshit, timey-wimey.
Okay, but let's be fair.
Barf bag
Let's
Moffat.
be fair. Russell made the sonic screwdriver a magic wand just as much.
Okay, but Moffat made everything else bullshit, all of it. Everything. Couldn't kill his darlings, couldn't stop self-masturbatory bullshit,
Hey, don't
bringing
get me wrong,
back his garbage
He
shit.
had a lot of issues, but
Let's
I feel
make
like
River Song come back 10 more times.
we can't lay the Sonic became a magic wand thing at his
I'm
feet.
not.
Russell did it.
I'm not. I didn't say anything about a sonic screwdriver. I said timey-wimey.
No,
That's
you,
his
you
magic
said
wand.
you did. You said
Oh, I didn't mean that though. I wasn't talking about the actual magic wand. I was talking about the fact that he's like, it's science fiction. I don't have to explain anything anymore. I just get to go. Woo, woo, woo.
But yeah, it's funny because I mean, like Midnight, I can see how he sort of got there, but it's distinct enough that when you watch it, you're not like, this is just ripping off Darmok.
Yeah, it's nothing like it, and it's probably because he never actually watched the episode.
Right. I hope
He
you've
just
seen
got
it
the
since.
idea. Last I knew, the only quote from him that I saw said that he hopes to never see it. Or still,
Because,
at
God
this
forbid,
point,
he watch a good
at
sci-fi
this point,
show.
he still haven't seen it. Oh!
Ayo.
At this point, there's no reason not to watch it. So
Yeah, you've made your episode. It's
And he's-
notorious.
And the BBC finally shed his horrible presence.
I believe he decided to leave.
He did. Yeah, no, he left on his own.
But he was still producing Sarah Jane Chronicles and Torchwood after he left the
Ugh,
Doctor.
I don't like Torchwood and I don't like Sarah Jane. Not the show, the person, the character.
Mm.
Never liked Sarah Jane.
Speaking of things I know Caitlin has a lot of has thoughts about.
Everything?
We saw Picard's new bomber jacket.
Oh, I love that jacket.
I heard Caitlin doesn't like it.
He just looks like...
a handsome British man.
Yeah, but he always looks like that. For me, it's just like... It looks like something he, picked up at, TJ Maxx. It just looks like a cheap half of, a
It
jogging
looks like
suit.
a suede jacket. It looks nice.
No,
I don't like suede because it always with suede you always worry that you're going to get it dirty.
To me, it just looked...
And he would get that... that jacket should have been
I'm sure
filthy by the end and unwearable.
Because I'm sure they weren't still skinning cows.
Was it suede or was it velour?
I was gonna say, it looked like a velour running suit to me. That's how it looked like to me. That's why I didn't like it. If it looked like suede, I would have been like, all right,
but it's not an action material.
It's supposed to look like suede. It isn't in reality,
Really? Okay.
but it's supposed to suggest suede.
See, to me, it doesn't look like suede. It looks like velour.
It looks like
that's
like
why
a velvet.
I thought it was
like trash.
suede. So
that's all right. Listen,
he
he wants to keep warm on the deck. I understand. I have very cold hands
also,
a lot of the
it's a
time.
good thing he was wearing that because then he got beamed down
Gloves.
to a cold planet.
Yeah.
Did you
He
say
had to
what?
sleep on the
Gloves.
ground.
Oh, gloves. They said gross. I was like, sorry.
Your freezing hands, monster.
Disgusting.
You know, my first note on this episode is, it's the bitchin' jacket!
Yeah, my note was, bomber jacket. What material is it made from?
You know, that jacket's sweet.
And also magnets. How do they work?
That's
He gets
also a
his
good
shirt
question.
cut. Oh, we also meet another character on this episode for the first time, Ensign Leffler.
Leffler.
Was that this episode?
Yes.
Yep. They're hanging out trying to fix the transporter
they're trying to break
situation.
through the Tamarian
Oh, yeah.
force field.
That
that is this
they put a, what was it? It was a particle scatter something in the ionosphere or something.
Yeah.
That
blocked
sounds about
the
right.
Magic.
And that seems like really dangerous. Like even if they could physically do it, it seems like particle scattering and transporters do not sound like they go well together.
Not at all.
Like water and electricity.
I know, watching them try to beam Picard up, and my first thought is, oh my god, you're trying to beam Picard, but you're missing his jacket! He's not wearing the jacket! You're gonna have to do a separate beam!
It made me so
Send me back.
mad. Like, I felt exactly like he felt when they were doing it. She's like, no, not now, son of a bitch! I'm like, no, he's gonna die! You gotta help him! And then I felt that way the second time I watched it also.
It was kind of
very
comical
upsetting.
watching Picard stand
Just
in the
stand there
background,
like-
and meanwhile you have Dathan like jumping
Yeah.
all over the place, getting his ass kicked.
Dude, he was...
I
he wasn't jumping anywhere. He was getting his face smashed in, the poor thing.
Dathan makes a really terrible choice by being like, all right, I'm going to give you a small knife and we're going to fight this invisible monster.
Well, because it's like, you know, again, it goes back to how stupid this culture is. That
Wow.
like
I love
like
that.
their idea of like
I
good
also
first
do.
contact procedure is let's reenact a fucking mythological
No,
story.
I don't think this was the first contact. I think they said they'd been in contact with them, or the Federation, has heard of other contact with them that hasn't worked. So
And
I'm
by
sure,
comparison, this one went well.
I'm sure Dathan is like, this still isn't working. This hasn't worked anytime we tried to talk with another race yet. I'm gonna try something out of the box, guys.
Let's
and they're
try
like,
to
what the
kill the
hell?
other
It was
guy.
a roaring success. Only one officer death.
Look, guys. I read the plot summary of Arena. I haven't actually seen it. I'm about to do my own
you
version
Russell
with
T.
this bald
Davies?
guy.
and honestly, the Tamarians are portrayed as stupids. Like they are dum-dums. They are like the
But they have
Samaritan
space travel.
the pachyderms. What were they called?
Packlets.
Packlets.
No, but they also say the Tamarian race, like they look at their ship and that ship could take us. So
They must-
clearly they're
like-
powerful.
like-
Well, and they almost did take them.
They
Besides,
probably
they were like,
bought it
well,
from a fat Ferengi. I don't know.
not yet.
But, like, the thing is, there's no fucking way that, like, because here's how stupid they are.
There's no fucking way, kid.
They cannot conceive that the other people on the alien ship that they've never seen before don't know their stories. Like, that's dumb.
I mean, how often does Kirk say something to Spock that's specific to humanity, and Spock has to be like, "Yeah, I learned that story
Yeah.
because I had to."
Ooh, to be fair, the ship already knows some of those stories.
It knows the characters.
Yeah,
it may
yeah,
not know
it
the
does
story.
it
It may
doesn't-
not know the
But
intent
it's obvious.
of the phrase.
It's obvious from the get-go that they don't understand. Like, I'm sure the Tamarians are standing there being like, these fucking idiots don't even know what we mean by Darmok and Jalada Tanagra. What dipshits. But honestly, it's incumbent on them to be like, oh, maybe we should, I don't know, try
Try a synonym.
try explaiing what the story is, or like send
He
them
did
over.
try
he
to
goes to
explain.
the island. And
Let's beam them.
exactly.
Let's send them over a book.
Well, I was thinking that too. Picard at the end starts reading the Odyssey. He's like, maybe this will help us communicate. Only if you left them a copy, you fucking moron. They're not going to know.
No, it's about the philosophy
Yeah.
of learning what stories mean to us, which is a lot.
Well, right, but they still won't be speaking the same language.
They're gonna next time they meet, they'll be like,
Achilleus at Troy. They'll just be like,
Maximus and Commodus in the arena. Oh, what? You've never seen Gladiator?
These fuckers don't even have a word for blue yet.
Like
the
giraffes that were sold to a merchant.
It's the wine dark see throughout for a reason.
You've killed justice somehow.
Just like
Who did?
Francis
Everyone.
looking up. That's the sky. And like you have to, because
Francis.
how do you? Because you're gonna have to, I guess, make nouns when you discover things.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
So
no ocean, so clearly there are some nouns that you can have. I think it's just the feeling and the intent.
Young Will outside of the school playing some b-ball.
So
I'm sure Jake and Caitlin could make their own language based on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
The guys
Oh, God.
who are up to no good.
oh god, I think he just did it too. I'm not sure. So the other thing is, it does make sense, though, I guess, in a way that they're technologically advanced.
Uncle Phil, his arms wide.
Will, when his father disappoints him.
Always.
That's when Uncle Phil had his arms wide.
Oh, that's
a good
one.
episode.
Charlton dancing.
Carlton.
Whatever.
Dun, 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 dun.
But when we first, the first thing they do mention is that, they are transmitting some sort of mathematical progression.
They're doing math?
They're transmitting a mathematical progression to sort of like...
Oh, that was how they fight him down?
Yeah, to be like, look, we're intelligent. Here's a... So, probably in part because they can't have in-depth conversations. They sit around just sciencing all the time.
Yeah,
Because numbers, that's easy.
They must
them.
have a complete separate idea for invention and science, and we don't even fucking talk about this. We just we understand
Their
it.
mathematical
Here's
progression
the
was
math.
1, two,
I was thinking it was
The count, his fingers lifting.
apples when I have 5 but eat 3. That's
This
what I was
away
thinking.
mission is brought to you by the letter F. For fucked by an electric alien. The alien was cool.
Alien looked
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
I like the
he
effect.
had some kind of demony
He was
situation.
like
Horns.
Armis done well.
Reminded me of the Predator a little bit, right?
I thought that, very Predator vibe.
I've never seen Predator.
Yeah.
I do
Neither
know what
have
it
I,
looks
but I know
This
like.
is post-Predator. Predator
Oh, yeah.
comes out in the late 80s, and this is early
Yeah.
90s.
It's 91, yeah.
Yeah, no, they ripped it off. It's fine.
Yeah. Totally reasonable.
It
Yeah.
might even be the same shit. They might have borrowed it. Who
In
knows?
fact, the story of Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra is really just the story of Alien versus Predator.
at Tanagra.
At Tanagra.
Shaka. That would actually be really funny if they did that, because you know how, in Halloween, the film, they used a casting of William Shatner's face to make Michael Myers' mask?
Yeah.
It would be cool to take some shit from Predator and then mix that in. Whatever, okay?
Cool.
I like it. Shut up, Jake! What do you mean cool?
Shaka. When the walls fell.
True.
Alien versus Predator's critical reception.
That first one was fun.
I was gonna say, I thought people liked that one. It's like
People liked it, but the critical reception was
Yeah, it was
a garbage
it was
fire.
pretty
Oh.
terrible.
They're not people.
That's the second one's so bad. Anyway,
Anyway, should we move on? Would you
anything more on this
Darmok?
episode?
I thought Darmok was brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's
I
a really
love
good
it.
episode.
it's my favorite episode of the series. It's so much fun.
More than Justice, your namesake?
Yes, even more than that awful trash fire we watched many moons ago.
I mean,
But it is the literal episode you're named after, so...
Yeah.
speaking of namesakes, though, we should also mention that the two little assholes that sometimes guest on the show are named for
Jake
this
and
episode.
Caitlin?
Our names are
Those are
actually
the two
Darmok.
big assholes who get guest on this
Yeah,
show.
but with
We,
the-
we
the-
pronounce it brown eyes, okay? So it's just...
Where are the assholes? They're usually-
There's one of their metaphors is like somebody his eyes red,
Yeah.
His,
his eyes brown,
his face black, his eyes
his
red.
eye brown.
Yes, the cats are called Darmok and Jalad. Or White
His
Cat and
waist
Black
band.
Cat.
Or Jim and Jim.
Or Jim and Jim.
Cool. So
I know
that
Jake
was
likes
nice.
Ensign Ro.
I do like Ensign Ro.
The character of the episode.
Both.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think.
Porfino Listos.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do we see a lot more of her?
We see her
A couple
several.
of
Yeah, we see her
episodes.
probably
enough
like
of her
5.
more than Yar?
No, I don't think it's more than Yar, but it's.
That sucks.
I
But
think
she
we
kicks
should.
more
She's
ass
way
than Yar.
better than Yar.
She gets roughly the same amount of ass as Yar.
Yes.
Oh, I look forward to this.
She gonna
Yeah.
fuck Data?
Not the same ass.
Not the same ass.
Oh, too bad. He's
but-
fully
The
programmed,
whole
you know.
ship?
Actually, I guess there is that episode
Savage.
where Yard takes a walking tour of the ship.
Yeah, that doesn't quite happen for
Ro.
Ro. But I do think she doesn't get as much screen time as... And I don't know. I think she benefits... The character... I like... It's natural to compare Ro and Yar because they're both attempts at badass women who take no shit. And Ro is successful, in my opinion, and Yar was not.
From what I've seen so far, I agree.
Yeah. I think
we've seen one episode.
And I think there's a benefit. The benefit that Ro gets is Michelle Forbes is a much more competent actor than
similar body
what's her
shape.
name?
Yeah.
Denise Crosby.
And that's, and that's just the way it is. And then I also think that she benefits from season 5 writing over
that's very
season
true.
1
That's
writing.
very true.
On the other hand, what's her name? Diane Crosby?
Denise
Crosby does not benefit from 5th season writing because she's still trash.
That's true.
And her new character is trash too.
Yes. But, here's the thing.
You're allowed to be wrong.
Sela, really?
You like Sela?
We'll get to that next time.
I'd rather see less of her.
I don't think Denise Crosby is terrible, but she's certainly easily outacted by Michelle Forbes.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even mean that. I just mean that even her... Tasha Yar was boring, criminally boring at best, and Sela is just a fucking stupid idea.
Here's an example, right? One of the few things we know about Tasha Yar...
Rape gangs.
Is rape gangs, that she grew up on a shitty planet...
And she banged Data, which
and
is fine.
there was she just basically, we know about her upbringing on the shitty planet, which we eventually see, and it's not nearly as shitty as previously suggested.
It got better.
But at any rate, we know that. We know about that she had this horrible upbringing. And how we know that? In an episode where everyone's hallucinating, she sees a cat. And otherwise she just talks about the rape gangs. Now we've met Ensign Ro, and in the first episode, we have a vivid perspective of her shitty upbringing. Mm-hmm. We learn all about the Bajoran and where they're from and why they're
and the occupation
down and out.
Cardassians
And we get this horrifying story about her father and tortured to death.
Guys, they gave her candy.
I was going to say, they gave her candy. Now she's never going to go to Halloween again.
So, I don't know. They treat this character so much better than they've treated pretty much every woman on the show, but certainly better than Tasha.
This is a good segue to my issue. Treated better except by Will. Will Riker, you go to hell.
Right.
Will Riker's an asshole in this episode.
Well, when he asked her to take the earring off,
it's
or other stuff.
He's like, oh, you gotta be up to uniform code. And it's like, bitch, is Worf's little sash uniform code?
Anything Troy
wears? Don't you feel like he would make a woman take off her burqa or some shit?
Yeah, seriously, it's like he normally doesn't care, but because this person, and then later he's immediately we gotta, it's the same thing that happened with Barclay. The minute someone isn't up to Will fucking Riker's standards, he's not even gonna try. He's gonna be like, nope, I can't. Well, it's your fucking job to try, you horny asshole.
It's his job to teach. He's in charge of the cadets sometimes.
Yeah, but he's just nope, I heard this thing. And then it's just the whole episode, because again, we're finding, with Barclay, this, Starfleet arrogance. Where Geordi's fucking... all right.
I think some of it is because he knows that she fucked up a different thing, and he already is predisposed to dislike
that. She's not just a
Starfleet-wide problem.
Yeah, and it's also not just that she had that one incident that she's in prison for, but she's also, even before that, she had a reputation for being insubordinate. It sounds like.
Yeah, but it's still just he's not even going to try to work with it. He's just immediately I'm big swinging Dick Riker. He really so me off in this episode.
But yeah, I think that was also to show...
Worf, I might expect that from. Less so Riker. Because Worf has a very different definition of... how to obey orders and stuff.
I also kind of feel like a woman like that, though, would pique his curiosity.
Yeah. When Worf doesn't like the order, he just quits Starfleet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't kill anybody. Come on.
No, he does. He quits. He takes his badge off, beams over to the other ship, kills a guy, and then comes back.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that one.
But again, also just what the fuck, Starfleet? You're supposed to be all about knowing other cultures, but none of you have ever been taught, P.S., it's... family name first with the Bajorans?
I'm guessing that the Bajorans are pretty not really on the radar of most people because it's
But you've got at least one in
Starfleet. They're on the Cardassians' radar.
You have one in Starfleet that we know of.
Yeah,
possibly others.
I mean, enough have been encountered that she had that whole thing about how, like, most just deal with it. And it's like...
But I'm not going to.
But that's pretty true,
Rightly
though.
so.
Like, if you think about it, like, most people I know who are Korean, you know, they rearrange their names. Or they put like...
Right.
Kim or Park as their last name.
Well, right, but that's, you know, I mean, that's
American style.
Right, well, it's because it's to deal with our forms, basically.
Yeah, but no, even people I know in person, like, you know, I work with someone whose last name is Park.
Right.
How long has he lived in the country?
Not terribly long.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, we're supposed to, we're frequently told they're better at this shit than us. So it shouldn't be matter of fact that, you know, I mean, they have Worf, whose surname is Son of Moog. You know, you've got Spock, who is either a mononym or has a second name that is impronounceable by
Spock is his
humans.
last name. His first name is Mr.
Right. Like Mr. Bean.
I thought Mr. Spock was his father's name.
I was saying, it's weird that, like... stuff that seems like would be a given just kind of goes out the window.
But yeah, if it is common in Starfleet for Bajorans to flip the names out of convenience for whiteys, then you know.
Yeah, they do mention that
there
there are other Bajorans in Starfleet that may have been doing that. So maybe that was why he was confused. Like, oh yeah, like. All the other Bajorans I know have done this, but you are a big dick about it.
I know we're wrong. Picard, I think, handles it really well. He's just like, oh, thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
I will now respect your culture.
Yeah.
But it's just like, how badly did Starfleet drop the ball for how long before, like, it took this one person going, by the way... Oh, I guess my point to all this is, I think a lot of her sort of gruffness and grumpiness is justified because she's treated like shit.
I absolutely agree.
Well, yeah, but again... She's treated like shit. She's had a terrible upbringing. You know, she basically lived in it sounds like a concentration camp type setting. So it's, yeah.
She tried to give her uniform away to a child, though.
Yeah.
But I think she did.
Well, she
At
gave
least
the
one.
coat.
So that she could
replicated her
show
one.
off her arms.
Yeah. You know, when she
tickets
being
to the
aboard,
show.
Riker's like, you know, you will obey uniform code, young lady. Now show me those puppies. Like that was what he meant.
That was one thing.
When she took off the earring, he's
This
like,
is what happens when you get off this planet.
we get to eat food where I'm from.
Oh, you get actual
Not
blankets.
just dirt and rocks.
That's my favorite.
That was one thing though when she gives away the jacket. Like they cut it just so you didn't. So that if you're not thinking about it, you don't realize. Wait a minute. When did she stop and move her comm badge to her undershirt? Because she didn't. It was just there.
It's a feature.
It's a magic comm badge.
Well, you know what? It's her away team comm badge something.
But there was no badge on the jacket when she handed the child.
She's just comm badges all the way down.
They just cheated it, and it amused me.
If you took off that shirt, she'd have one as a pasty.
No!
Two of them, actually. Two.
Functional, though. Weirdly, you can still flip
well, it's stereo.
It goes beep, 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 beep.
The way they have to adjust the frequency.
If she gets too excited, they go flying. Or if it's cold.
Speaking of costumes, we see another Admiral shirt. I'm moving forward, guys. We've been talking forever now. We see a new Admiral shirt with a really deep, sparkly V cut.
Which I think we see again in future.
I just always hate the Admiral.
Yeah, they just...
I missed that. I'm actually going to Google
I
that.
have a new theory, though. The Admiral...
This is my day-to-night Admiral shirt.
As an Admiral, I think one of the privileges of the rank is you can design your own uniform.
It seems to be.
You should use as much gold glitter as you'd like.
Yeah, like your uniform must look vaguely like a Starfleet uniform, and you have to include glittery fringe or something.
Yeah, like, I feel like after a while, I thought they would have done it by now, but I was wrong. But I think after a while, they just have the admirals wear the dress uniform by default.
That's fine. It's at least less glittery.
They eventually, the First Contact era uniform admiral variant is much, much better. It's just, minor aesthetic spoilers. It's just the same coat, but they got a big fuck-off buckle with a belt with a big, ridiculous...
It says BAMF on it.
Well, it's a ridiculously oversized, like, UFP belt buckle. And they've got, like, a really thick colored bar on the cuff with gold So it's still got the gold, like,
Alright.
spar, but it's much...
But it's not like around the neck and body
I don't
area.
think so, no. It's still, so it's like, it stands out. It's clearly something different. You're clearly a bit more important, but it's not this ludicrous, like, what is happening right now? Like, it looks like bad Star Trek cosplay designed by someone who only had the uniforms explained to them.
And there's disco involved. So
Ooh.
I looked up a picture of Kennelly to see the deep V with the sparkle, and it's horrible. But you were saying her having her comm badge on under her coat, whatever. But she has changed, because her normal uniform is just a normal uniform. So this actually is an on-the-ground thing.
Well, she was wearing a coat.
Yeah, she took the coat off.
Yeah, so
gave
you
it to the
probably
child.
wouldn't put your comm badge on.
I think she
on
had
your
the. I think
jacket,
she had
would
the.
you?
I don't.
No,
recall.
they're like, that's what she removed, she just,
She removed the top,
yeah, she took off the top.
and then the badge appeared underneath.
But
Yeah.
it's still got to be a different
I think it is a different
uniform because all their uniforms are one piece.
Not all.
No, they're not. They're
Well, hers appears
There's a
to
But
be...
hers
there
had,
was
a,
a
but her,
hidden
but her,
zip.
yeah, hers had a front zip. I don't know if that. Not everybody, like the most of the main
It's
cast does
the
not have
front
a front zip.
class bra of the Star Trek.
They because when they first in season 3 when they first switched from the pajamas
the horrible uniforms.
to these,
Not that bad.
they had front zips for a few episodes, and then they lost the front zips. But I think
Extras still get them
extras and
sometimes.
guest stars still sometimes get the front zips. And I think she had a front zip.
Yeah.
in that scene, and then not again later.
But she did have her comm badge on.
Yeah, that's the thing.
We're getting really hung up on this comm
She
badge.
doesn't have a front zip.
But either way, she did have the comm badge on earlier. So yeah, speaking of the Admiral, though, one of my notes on
Kennelly? I'm surprised Kennelly wasn't in Jake's list.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't think they ever. I think
He's not
only
that
the
evil, he's
pajamas
just
had
dumb.
zips. I don't think it wasn't zips on these uniforms. It was a
double
double
she didn't
seam.
she didn't have a front zip for sure.
The
right.
original
Oh, yeah.
uniforms didn't have a zip. They had a double seam. They were just a pullover sweater, but she unzipped her coat, so it was a different.
Yeah, it was just
thing.
a coat. It was a coat, and she had her weird on-planet dress.
Pants.
Yeah, because well, I think hers was what she was wearing down there was actually a dress. It was like red
No,
with black.
No, it
That
had
was
trousers.
a separate crop top. And
She had slacks and a tank top.
Anyway, that's not the
Yeah,
point.
you wanted to say something about Kennelly.
When Picard is all like, I find that impossible to believe, when the sort of thing is revealed to him, it's just like, have you met or heard of Starfleet admirals,
Have you
John
met any
Luke?
other
The thing that's
admirals?
interesting about this guy is that he did the wrong thing, and like I was thinking, like he probably could have made my list, but the more I think about it, the more like yes, he did the wrong thing, and he did it in the wrong way, but he wasn't evil. Like he wasn't.
No, he was just an idiot.
He got duped by the Cardassians.
And
Yeah.
like
As
one
well they
of
should,
their
'cause they're
very
great.
lighter dupings as well.
Yeah, no, he's just a fucking fool.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like they promoted him to Admiral not because he deserved it, but because he'd already blown up like 3 ships.
Yeah, he got hurt in some spectacular way, and they're like, "Well, just take this and don't do anything more."
Yeah, like he wasn't actively going out of his way to do bad things. He just did dumb
he just-
shit.
Yeah, I
An
think he's
astounding
too
idiot.
dumb to be evil.
He
That's why.
failed his way up.
And like he probably should have
Somebody's-
discussed this with
somebody's
somebody else
granddaddy
before
or something.
sending the flagship on a mission
Yeah.
to do the dirty
Yeah.
work.
I did
Maybe he's his
read-
own granddaddy.
I did read that originally it was the Romulans, not the Cardassians, that were occupying Bajor.
Huh.
But I guess the writers decided there have been way too many Romulan plots. Let's
And
not
we're about
do
to have another
one.
Romulan
And
plot
they
really
suck
soon.
mostly. So
That really would
The
have...
Romulans
so-
suck?
that really would have changed Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that this is what sets up Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, holy shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what is it? The space station, Deep Space Nine, sits outside between Cardassia and Bajor.
Oh.
And one of the major characters, or a few of the major characters, are Bajoran and Cardassia.
Oh,
And at
cool.
the beginning of the series, in the very first episode, the station's actually in orbit around Bajor because it was a Cardassian, basically a Cardassian prison
Occupied.
prison facility.
Oh, weird.
It was like a working,
Yeah, it was like a
work
labor
Like a
camp
labor
in
camp.
space.
Ugh.
So,
But
yeah,
wow, yeah,
that's
that
pretty.
really would have drastically altered Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
So,
And,
yeah.
and we know,
level.
and Deep Space Nine, I think, was in discussion of.
Yeah, they already,
Happening at some
they
Yeah,
already
because
point.
working on
it premieres in the middle of season 6
Mhm.
TNG.
Yeah, 1990.
That's awesome. We're almost there.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it premieres in January 1993.
I love Deep Space Nine with every fiber of my being.
I'm looking very much forward to it because
And-
I've seen like 2 or 3 episodes and they've all been awesome.
And
Yeah.
one of the reasons, so Michelle Forbes, the character of Ro Laren, shows up probably 6 or 7 more times, maybe not quite, maybe 6 more times in season 5 5 or 6 more times in season 5, and then shows up once in season 6, I believe, and then once in season 7. But I think one of the reasons why she doesn't show up more in season 6 is because they were originally planning her to be the.
I say this next week.
I know you say next week.
Now you're trumping what I'm going to say next week.
Well, that's fine. So she was supposed to be reprising her character on Deep Space Nine, but she chose not to do that.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
Did she ever come to regret her decision and try to weasel her way back in like Denise Crosby does?
I did.
Okay,
I
but
love Karen
what
Reese.
if
I mean, they did bring her back in season 7, but not as the same character.
season 7 of Deep Space Nine?
No, of TNG.
Oh.
Yeah. The Bajoran that they end up replacing her with is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad they did. I think we talked.
Rose better.
I think we'll probably talk about this next
I
week
love
as well.
Reese.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that have you already had the Trill episode?
Yes.
Yeah. So they don't change too much about the Bajorans and the Cardassians.
They
They change everything about the trail.
Yeah, they change,
Yeah, that's what you guys said when we got
so
to that
much.
episode.
Although they also, the one thing they do change is that we never hear the term Bajora again.
Yeah, it's just Bajor.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it was, the way they were using it was like the people were the Bajora,
Yeah.
and any of their things, be it their culture or property, was Bajoran.
Yeah, the adjective form.
But eventually, it's just like, it's always Bajoran.
Yeah.
And the planet, yes, is Bajor.
Yeah, but like it's funny to think that like this they managed to maintain the very religious aspect of Bajor throughout this occupation as well. Again, because they still have like all these temples and things in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I'm looking really forward to actually hearing more about the earring thing, because I know that, I know it is a thing, but they haven't explained it at all, except for Will Riker to be like, don't wear that.
Yeah.
You're not allowed
Or is
to
it
wear
just
your
a piece-
hijab in here, you piece of shit.
A piece
He's
of
such
their
an
culture.
asshole. I thought it was religious. Is it not religious?
I don't
I
know.
think it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, and I mean, even though they don't
no.
say it,
I'm culturally Bajoran.
even though they don't explain it explicitly here, like, you do see the other Bajorans with them, so you realize what at first you think might just be something Ro likes. You're like, oh no, this is clearly a Bajoran thing, and Will is a racist.
Also, I just want to say the name Nana Visitor over and over again.
I had a note that I'm proud of. Oh wow, we've come a long way since all the styrofoam rocks on TOS, because the rocks looked good. But not a long way since the disfigurement wake-up, because that looked not great.
I actually appreciate this disfigurement makeup.
Really? It looked like they melted a candle on his head.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
But I think that's the idea.
I think that they should have done more things like that, especially for a place that's been occupied for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really people missing limbs and shit.
He's got his sweet vocoder.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention, so this episode was written by Michael Piller, who was the creator of Deep Space Nine.
Oh,
Okay.
So
cool.
it makes sense that he would continue with this stuff that he set up.
Mm-hmm.
So he pulls it to Denise Crosby and is like, okay, you know that episode I wrote? What if you...
Sorry.
I'm looking excited for Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. You're gonna like it.
I'm excited.
But
So,
yeah,
It's one of the few shows that I feel like consistently gets better as it goes along, too.
Nice, that's awesome.
and unlike TNG, which has the depths of shit, the depths of Deep Space Nine, I don't think are as deep as the depths of TNG.
There are a few
Move
bad
along
episodes.
holes
Sure.
for homes
Not
are pretty
so-
bad.
Not so Deep Space Nine?
I personally hate the baseball episode.
Me too. I hate that one so much.
Well, I don't like baseball,
goofy, but I got
so
the
I'm sure
hat.
I won't like it either. It's goofy,
You
but
would.
I got the hat.
You would.
Oh, yeah. You had just got it a couple weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm. We're back to this.
I think Kenley's going to get torn apart by Klingons.
Hopefully.
Because that seems to be what happens when somebody does bad and you hand them over to somebody else.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how because we were talking about the arrogance that Picard and Riker in particular exhibit, and Geordi as well when he's talking to the guy. But
Picard less so. His concern mostly, understandably, is, I'm sorry, you're giving me this officer who was in jail? But when he actually interacts with her, he's nice to her. It's everyone else who's
he
kind of...
wasn't. He was when he first met. He was very stern.
Well, he's stern, but I don't think
Stern,
he was...
but he's not outright
He's not
douchebag like Will Riker.
Yeah, Riker's hostile.
Yeah, but I think that was Picard's, his politeness. I don't think he wanted to be. I think he had made up his mind about Ro before she even got there.
True, but he was still willing to listen. And I mean, the thing is, he was he wasn't happy, but he was going to do his job like a professional.
But anyway, the point I was trying to make. So we already talked about that. What we didn't really talk about is one of the things that what's his name? The first Bajoran guy they encounter, the guy that is in the camp.
Keeve Falor?
Yeah, Keeve Falor. Not Kivas Fazo.
Yeah.
Keeve Falor.
Falor.
Yeah.
Who basically calls out Starfleet, like puts them on blast with respect to like, listen, I don't want to help you because considering like you didn't give a shit about our people until I kind of think that maybe it was a good thing that the terrorists attacked you because you basically blew us off for decades while
your prime directive is stupid and bad.
And that's sort of one of the first good points, because I've kind of felt that about the prime directive for a long time, is that like it's very good when you don't want to fuck up another culture.
It's convenient.
But this is a case where violating the prime directive would have been a good thing, especially
saved a lot of lives.
Especially since we know that the Federation was recently at war with the Cardassians.
And they have Bajorans in their numbers.
Yeah,
I'm still unclear when this Cardassian war with the Federation occurred and what happened in it.
Well, we know the peace treaty was recently signed, so I'm guessing in the last 5 years.
5 or 10 maybe, because Miles was in it.
That's right.
So it had to have started before Miles was on the Enterprise and ended
when Miles
while they were on the Enterprise. Because
sort of just feels like another shot at American neutrality, quote unquote. Like this kind of neutrality to not getting involved with other people's shit is like how it took us so long to get involved in World War II. Well, and even then we only got involved because someone else fucked with us, right? So... oh my god, is it? It sort of does feel like a World War II metaphor now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, it's just like, the Admiral Fuckface said, Picard, your job is to protect the peace. You're not to protect the people on the ship. Like, your orders are to withdraw and let the Cardassians kill the people because we just need to protect the peace with the Cardassians. It's sort of like, I feel it, it's
cowardice.
I don't want to end up on a list, but
you're already there.
But I feel like this is very reminiscent of the situation with Saudi Arabia in the United States.
Yeah.
Where we're basically
give them more journalists,
or to be even more controversial, to not nearly as bad an issue, but with Israel to some extent, when the Palestinian situation, we're very willing to turn a blind eye to atrocities when it's in our interest.
Yeah, look at how long the whole developed world ignored South Africa.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Like the fact that went until the early 90s is fucking horrifying.
Yeah, it's awful.
And it basically, they only started paying attention because... I'm not even clear why.
You really wanted Trevor Noah.
Like, something happened where finally everyone had to stop...
Great!
Everyone had to stop pretending this shit wasn't happening. And I'm not actually... I've never been clear on what the catalyst was. I just know it happened.
But we're still fine with ignoring the AIDS crisis in Africa, so at least we're still turning a blind eye to something there.
Yeah. I really feel like... And one of the reasons I appreciate this episode is because it does... This is one of those episodes that really... is a mirror up to nature.
Yeah.
You're taking, what is the Federation, which is always portrayed as this benevolent organization, and you're pointing out the hypocrisy and the flaws. And that's very, obviously that I'm sure the writers very consciously were taking a stab at the United States and basically the West in general.
It's interesting to me because that pillar specifies, I think on multiple occasions, that the Bajorans aren't representative of any particular race or culture, too.
No, but they're an amalgamation.
Because it's a worldwide problem with any culture that has to become subservient to another one.
And and everybody who has a connection to unoppressed people can place their culture in the Bajorans to some extent. I've heard people be like, "Oh, it's very reminiscent of the Palestinians," and their treatment in the West Bank, or Irish people. Every culture has a story of oppression that they can relate to, and
not the British.
Hi, White Cat.
Well, no, because they're the Cardassians.
Yes, they are
Clearly.
always. The last time Britain was conquered by anyone, it
Jalad
was
at the table.
the fucking Romans or the Vikings. Like,
But here's the
When
thing.
the
Yeah.
justice
No,
stood.
I mean, you could say, the Norman conquest, right?
Oh, sure.
But the Normans came in and they're like, shit, we're British now.
yeah,
We're
it's
just
like-
going to be British.
Yeah,
Fuck
no,
it.
And then I imagine that they took on floofy voices and accents the way you do when you make fun of me, Jake.
they all just
God, yeah.
they all just
There's that
spontaneously grew like ridiculous handlebar mustaches,
I was
and
also thinking
bowlers
handlebar.
just appeared on their heads.
God.
They all
Lord
instantly got a,
Poopington.
they all immediately spontaneously had a box set of Monty Python, even though it wouldn't exist for several more centuries.
Wow. That's weird. How'd they get them?
That is the power of the British.
Apparently, jeez.
Anywho.
Sorry, British listeners, but you know your culture's like
Trash.
Awesome.
Oh.
not trash, but they were, they're pretty much always the conquering figure.
I mean, but is it really fair to point any fingers?
America's
Dogs.
fucking broken, but
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a different history of broken and fucked up.
Yeah, our broken and fucked up is gonna ruin the whole world.
Huzzah.
Yay.
Anyway,
Anyway.
I like summarizing here. I think we're all fans of Ro Laren,
Yeah, good episode.
and this episode in general seems to be pretty strong.
You know, she's a bad bitch. I like her.
And, she made the right choice when she told Bev and Troy to just keep walking.
Mind if we join you? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good, you've heard of them.
She could have gotten a chocolate sundae.
I said, let me talk to you about Sundays.
We're about to put on spandex and go stretch in front of a mirror. You want to join us?
And talk about boys.
Let me bore you with stories about my son for 20 minutes.
Troy, your son's dead.
That got dark.
Yowza.
All right.
I just ended the episode for us. Thank
Yep.
you. You're welcome.
All right. Well, yeah. So if there's any parting thoughts, I think we can close this one out. So next week on A Star to Steer Her By, we will have done, let's see, we have Silicon Avatar. Silicon or Silicon or Silicone.
I think it's silicone.
No, I think silicone has to have an E at the end.
Yeah, silicone has
What
an
is
E.
the difference?
Silicone is the boob stuff.
Silicon is like the valley.
But is silicone made out of silicon?
I have no idea,
Probably.
maybe.
It's a variety.
But it's cone shaped, like the breasts.
Well, it's also
Silicone. Nice silicone.
it's also a gel as opposed to a.
Silicones. For the listeners that didn't see that, I first bobbled them and went, and then I motorboated them and went.
I'm pretty sure the is like a universally understood.
I am
that
motor-
probably
that is-
translated pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, he's motorboating somebody.
The Tamarians are
His face buried.
Jake. His face. They're motorboating. Anyway, speaking of motorboating,
This is why we clip.
following Silicon Avatar, we will be talking about disaster in which an infant is born on the show. And Picard has to hang out with children. So a disaster indeed. Those two episodes coming to you next week on A Star to Steer Her By. In the meantime, find us online at
Yep.
SSHB.com.
It's SHB podcast.
SSHBpodcast.com.
Didn't you set up the website?
I did. Fuck it.
And then I forgot about it for 2
And
years.
then I forgot about you. Also, you can find us on Twitter and Tumblr at Twitter and Tumblr.com, respectively, where our name there is also SSHB Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Facebook Star to Steer Her By. Just search. And then you go to SoundCloud and get there to our show. And then iTunes, Google, and other podcasts.
Apple
Honey,
places.
have you taken your medication?
He's been taking Caitlin's. That's the problem.
And
No, we probably take something similar. You'd be okay.
we could do lost train of thought. Point is, go to iTunes, rate us. I saw we got another rating, so thank you.
We did?
We did. We have 3 now.
Thank
so
you. Probably Liz.
Thank you, listener.
Was it a good one?
I thought so. I think they were all 5 so far. So,
Woo-woo.
But if you read the text,
well, yeah.
we have been telling them to, even if they hate us, give us 5.
Give us 5
but
stars.
then be honest in
tell
the
us we
text.
suck in the text.
They say that we have very intelligent discussion.
What
Jake,
episodes
did you
have they
write
been
this?
listening
Did you write this?
Justice, anything you would like to say or plug before
I recently appeared on a podcast called the Ideal Remake Podcast, talking about one of my favorite B movies, Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah, Jake and I still have to watch that movie so that we can listen to that podcast.
That is a great movie that is completely insane, and I absolutely recommend that you watch it. John Carpenter's classic movie. Yeah, you can find me on that. You should also subscribe to Mr. Mobile on YouTube.
Woo!
At youtube.com/themrmobile. I'm the producer for that channel.
Yeah.
And I do things for it.
And we had Michael Fisher on the show as well.
That's right. You had
Mobile.
the Mr. Mobile of the Mr. Mobile on.
And now we're stuck with
He tried
Justice.
to poison us with ancient candy.
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys ate those rocks.
You could tell us they were real rocks. No, we love Michael and we love you, Justice.
Yeah. My son is still named Riker. At some point, we will take him to Disney World.
Yay! Alrighty
Take
then.
us too.
That does not consider a verbal promise, buddy. If you're listening right now, I don't have any. I don't have any money at the moment. Don't. If you're listening to this,
But he promises he'll get you a dog instead.
What?
I do want to get you a dog. I know you love dogs.
Aww. This is like that message that Wesley's...
Don't get a fucking crazy ass jerk dog though. Get a nice dog.
Well, of course I want a crazy ass jerk dog. Of course I'm going to get. I want to have the worst dog possible.
Yeah, you got to get some kind of mutt that's just so
Get something that's
mixed up that its
basically
eyes
dead
don't
already.
even point in the same direction.
Get like a pug or something that's
Yeah.
doesn't
Whoa.
move.
Something that is
Pugs-
genetically incapable of breathing.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Exactly.
pugs can't breathe, they get hip dysplasia, you have to clean their folds. If they sneeze too hard, they can pop out an eyeball.
Oh.
Wait,
Yeah,
you have to
they're
clean
really
their
cute.
folds? See, they're more like me than I thought.
All right, let's wrap it.
All right, well, I think that's it. My name has been Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been AIM.
This is Caitlin.
And I'm surprisingly Justice.
Woo!
Catch you next time, folks. We love you. Stay tuned for those of... What am I doing?
I don't know.
Why am I doing? Why am I have this?
Stay tuned for the What Hasha.
Be good. I want a Dole Whip.
I've never had a Dole Whip, but if I ever can afford to go back to Disney World, I will
I
Dole
bet you
Whip it
there's
up.
got to be a way. I can tell you now, somewhere on the internet, there's a make your own Dole Whip recipe.
It's probably true.
Dolphin?
But also, go back to Disney World.
Oh,
Disney World is fun.
Someday.
Disney World is fun.
I can't
It's
wait.
expensive, but it's fun.
I'm going to
Anyway,
bring a kid there. I'm going to hate myself then.
how old do you think?
I'm probably not until he's at least like 9.
No,
That's good, okay.
Younger. Gotta go younger than
No,
9.
no,
But then
you
you
gotta-
have to
It's still going to be all
remember it.
fucking
Yeah.
magic.
No,
I
but
went when
exactly,
I was
because
in-
when I was 9 or 10, I went, and I was too
Like,
old.
oh,
I was
this
like,
is
this is all
kinda lame.
bullshit. You
I
gotta
was
be like 6
was
or
in
7.
4th grade when I went, and it was still a ton of fun and magic for me. So, and if he's anything like me, which
He's
fingers
very like
crossed,
you.
yeah, I mean,
He certainly looks a fuck of a lot like
He looks
you.
a lot like me, and he's
Yeah.
also been dying for the last month as well.
Yeah, you guys just pass the same disease back and forth. You're
Yeah,
the same
exactly.
person.
It's like ping pong.
Exactly.
Disease ping pong.
Gnip.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I also feel like you and wifey. I forget if we've mentioned your
Wifey.
wifey's name on the show before.
I think we've said her name
You
like
and-
6 times on the air today,
I
haven't
think
we?
so.
Yeah, maybe you and wifey will have more fun if he's a little older too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like part of the fun is going there and having a kid who can like, I don't know, I'll take him in the Haunted Mansion and he'll be cool about it.
Throw him
I
down
mean-
Splash Mountain a dozen times in a row.
First
Yeah.
time-
Throw him down it.
First time I went, I was like, I think 11, and I still had a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
I
first time
don't
I
think
went, I
there's
was
a,
about 5, and I don't remember a thing of it.
Yeah.
So.
See, I was like
I
when
don't
I
think
went,
there's
and
a
I
bad
was
time to go.
when I went, I was too old to buy in.
Wow.
I'm
I think
hoping
now
that's
I'm
what
not
they-
too old to buy in.
Yeah. I'm hoping I will make a kid who is never too cool for school.
I think that I would be much more into it now. And actually, on subsequent visits, I was much more into it.
I think between 7 and 12 is probably prime Disney,
time.
prime Disney age.
And
Because
by
you're not
then
in
there'll
high
also be
school
like
yet, where it's like
there'll be a lot of really good
uncool.
new rides by then. I bet.
Yeah.
Disney will have absorbed every other commodity and made special spin-offs parks for
Disney
all of
World
them.
will actually just be all of Florida.
They'll already be
Yeah,
tearing
no
down
shit.
Avatar Land.
What's Avatar Land?
Not Avatar. They opened an Avatar.
Like as in James Cameron's
Yeah.
Avatar? Why?
Because they started planning it when the movie was super huge, and he was still going to be making 17 of them right away.
Yeah.
They were gonna make more Avatars?
Oh, they were going to be
Still
like
making
6.
them.
What?
Supposedly.
Who
Every
the fuck needs more Avatar?
every year he pushes it back further, but
Yeah.
Who? Okay, but seriously, who needs more Avatar?
Nobody needs more Avatar.
at the time,
Then why are they doing
at the
it?
time,
Because it made $1 billion. And James Cameron can do whatever the hell he likes.
and it's easy to forget now, but
It
at
made
the
$1 billion?
time,
It was the
$1
most
billion.
highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah,
I think
but
it
they're
still
not gonna
is.
fucking trick us again.
but
That's a trick you can only fucking get away with
a
once.
lot of people were super into that movie when it dropped. It's easy to forget because it's so quickly faded from the public consciousness.
I think also was more that it was a technological curiosity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it was like one of the better. I didn't never seen it, but from what I understand, it was one of the better uses of the 3D tech.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
but they legit called the fucking thing they needed to go and rape the lands of Avatar world for unobtainium. They literally called it unobtainium.
no one ever said James Cameron was a good writer.